Hey guys, it's Anne and welcome to practice today. We'll be doing a slower, nourishing practice to start to welcome in the energy of autumn as we transition towards that way. So it'll be a yin yoga practice which works on more of the connective tissue and fascia in the body. The poses are held for longer periods of time. We'll be holding them for about 3-ish minutes each, and over time we go a little bit deeper with gravity. So when you start to approach a pose, just kind of feel into your edge, feel where feels good, and then let time and gravity take you deeper. We won't be chatting too much longer. We're going to just start and get straight into it. So first of all, a big cushion would be really handy. And if you don't have one, don't worry, there's no need. And if you have a blanket as well, that could be really handy. But also if you don't have it, it's totally fine to do the practice without. To start with, just come into your breath and either hover your hands in front of the belly or just take your hands to the belly. If the eyes aren't already closed, then soften the gaze down towards the floor. And if it's comfortable, close eyes down. And begin to tune into this unique gift of breathing, the breath of life. And just noticing as you breathe if there's any movement in your belly. And quite often when we bring our awareness to the breath, there's this tendency to want to change it or make it different. Can you just let it be as it is, without wishing anything away or craving for something more, just letting things be as they are. And sensing into that constant flux of breath that changes from inhale to exhale and exhale to inhale. And then take a deep breath in. Exhale through the mouth. And then coming into all seasons of the breath, inhale feeling the breath come in, the spring of the breath coming in. And then pause at the peak of the inhale, the summer of the breath. This pause at the top of the inhale. Exhale, feeling the fall of the breath, the autumn. And then pause at the bottom of the exhale, just pausing in winter. And then inhale, the surge of spring in the belly as breath expands. Pause at the top of the inhale, linger a little while in summer. And then exhale, the falling of the belly, the falling of the season into autumn. And then pause at the bottom, winter. Just take a few more like those, inhaling, spring, pausing, summer, exhaling for fall, for autumn, pausing, winter, inhaling, spring, pausing, summer, exhaling, autumn, pausing, winter. Take one more round at your own pace like that, creating a soft pause at the top of the inhale and the bottom of the exhale. And once you've finished that next round, let the breath naturally find a rhythm that feels easeful and natural for you. And then from here, start to soften the eyes down to the lap and welcome the gaze into the room. And we'll come into our first yin yoga posture, moving a cushion or a bolster off to the side. If you have a blanket, there's the option to roll it up into a tube just to support underneath the ribs, as we'll come into a version of Sphinx. So place the tube blanket, if you're using it, just behind the wrists. Slide the knees back and see if you can keep the torso all in one line as you lower onto your belly. Forearms come to the floor. They're parallel, almost creating this 11 shape. And you can actually take it quite low. So if you want to, you can go quite low. You can even take one hand on top of the other, coming into more of a crocodile pose. If there's any pinching in the lower back around your sacroiliac joint, feel free to let the heels roll out to the side and take the legs a bit wider. If the low back feels okay, spine feels okay, there's no compression, maybe the elbows come in. You can even press that blanket underneath the ribs a little bit more. So just find your place here. It can be shallow in terms of the back bend or deeper. And when you arrive there, just take a deep inhale. Exhale, sigh. Let shoulders sink away from ears. Let the gap between the back teeth and the inner ear widen a little bit more as jaw hangs heavy. Forehead softens. Cheeks melt down. And just notice if you can hold this for about 3 minutes. So really going to your edge, then just ease off a little bit as time and gravity will take us deeper. And never ever going into pain. So there might be some discomfort and restlessness of the mind, but if you feel any pinching or tingling, any burning sensation, then really do ease out a little bit or come out of the pose completely. Okay. One more deep breath. And as you exhale, let your body settle into the bones, into the fluidity of your tissues. And let the breath take center stage as you pause. And I'll welcome in an affirmation to this practice today for each pose. So the first one is, I embrace the changes of the seasons with grace and ease. I embrace the changes of the seasons with grace and ease. I embrace the changes of the seasons with grace and ease. And just notice how you respond. This might ring true, it might not. But just notice if anything arises with these words, knowing that everything is welcome here. And in this pose with the chest open, starting to cultivate a sense of greater acceptance to change. To this rhythm of season that is a bit slower and gentler. And your mind will drift, it will jump around. Each time that happens, perhaps come back to the feeling of the breath, to come into this moment here. And perhaps you can feel it in the ribs as they spread into the blanket beneath you or the floor. About 30 seconds left here. Notice how your body responds to this idea of 30 seconds longer. And then take a deep inhale to prepare to move. And as you exhale, coming out the way we came in, hands slide underneath shoulders, just as softly as you came into the pose, come out. And find all fours. And you may want to stay in stillness here as a rebound for the pose. Or maybe there's some gentle circles of your hips. Maybe even a dipping of the tailbone and a lifting of the tailbone. Feeling into the full length of the spine. A momentary transition out of this pose. And wherever you are, let your mind be acutely aware of sensations, the physical raw data of sensation in the body. And let that be your anchor to here, to now. Okay, nice. Starting to come back to kneel, if that's okay, on your knees. So we'll come into our second pose, supported child's pose or balasana. So if you know that you're really comfortable going deep here and it's okay on the knees, then start to widen the knees, and you can even prop up the forehead with this blanket. Hands can be alongside the hips. Hands can thread on the inside if that's more comfortable, or more of a traditional outstretch forwards with the arms. If you need more support under the knees, I definitely do sometimes, then taking the blanket to the creases of the knees to find a bit of support. And if you have a big cushion or bolster, you can start to bring that towards the hips and take the hands alongside the bolster and find length through the ribs and peel yourself down. And again, you can put one hand on top of the other for a pillow, just to create some space for the nose, or even just turn the cheek to one side, your choice. And again, we've got about 3 deep breaths here, 3 minutes rather than deep breaths here. So really take time to get comfortable, prioritize your comfort here, knowing that you will edge towards discomfort a little bit, but never pain. And then resolve to surrender to something greater, to the elusive nature of time, the elusive nature of the changing seasons. The elusive nature of gravity that can't be seen but is very much present and felt. And the affirmation we'll welcome in with this pose is, I am grounded and balanced within. I am grounded and balanced within. I am grounded and balanced within. Just noticing how that feels for you. And notice how the body responds to those words, not the mind. So does the body clench? Or does it soften into those words? What is it that the body, the felt sense of the body, what messages is it communicating to you right now? Knowing we're about halfway here in the pose. And really noticing this sense of bowing down to yourself, of bowing down to the earth in honor of the natural process of life, of change. Constant flux that stops us from feeling stagnant and stuck. And can help with uplifting, guiding us to a place of balance. So just a short while longer here, bowing down to the constant flux and change of the seasons of life in reverence and gratitude for the continuous possibility of growth. Just a few more breaths here, bowing down to yourself, to this moment. And then deep inhale, preparing to move. And exhale, just start to softly and slowly, carefully pad the hands down and come all the way to tabletop once more. It might feel nourishing to lift the hips up and back, press heels of hands down and forwards, finding some length in the upper body. And perhaps there's a pedal of the heels to the earth, finding length in the backs of the legs too. Just a couple of breaths to honor the transition from that pose to the next and really notice any gifts of that pose, the effects on the body. Then lowering the knees to all fours once more. We'll come into the next pose, which is my favorite. So if you do have a big pillow or a bolster, I would massively recommend using it. So we'll turn to face the tops of our mats. And take, if you are using a prop, and you don't have to, but if you are, take it to the base of the spine. And bring knees up towards sky, feet planted to earth. And hands come behind you to help you slowly peel down onto the support or just onto the floor. And then from here, just lift the buttocks and scoop the tailbone towards the creases of the knees. So you've got this lengthening and spaciousness in the lower back and around the sacroiliac joint. And then hands can take the outer legs as the inner creases of the feet come together, and we start to open the legs into a diamond shape. And play around with where the feet are. So if the heels are closer towards the genitals, there's generally more stretch in the groin. And if the heels are further away, so it's like a longer diamond shape, there's generally more openness in the back of the hamstrings. That may ring true in your body, it may not. If you need any support under the knees, if you have yoga blocks or cushions, feel free just to prop them up. I like the heels closer towards the genitals. Just gets a really nice stretching and opening through the inner thighs. And then hands reach towards the sky and just lift the shoulder blades either away from the earth or away from the bolster or support beneath you. And start to peel open through the arms. It's almost like water falling open through the arms, palms face up. Check that the chin isn't reaching up towards the sky. Chin draws down towards the throat, so there's length in cervical spine, neck. If you need, you can put a little cushion underneath the back of the skull to help, or a folded up blanket or scarf. And then find your position. Maybe there's a soft smile in the center of the chest that spreads up to the face. And take a deep breath in. And exhale out through the mouth. Just really resolving to let the body soften into the support. And welcoming this physical sensation of openness in the groin and maybe the chest too. And the words we'll welcome in here are, I am open to new beginnings. I am open to new beginnings. I am open to new beginnings. And just seeing once more how the body responds to this. Or feel free just to let the words drift away and focus on the physical benefits that you feel from such an open pose without the need for further intention. And here, can you fully surrender, fully drop, knowing that there's nothing else you need to be doing right now. Forehead softens, jaw softens, chest melts open. Imagining the breath like a stream that trickles out of the chest and cascades down the arms. Soothing, pouring, opening. An openness to what life has in store. Without needing to know. About 30 seconds longer here. Knowing that you may feel restless, the mind may get distracted, and that too is welcome. Take a fuller, deeper breath and exhale, signaling to the body that it's time to move. This time rolling over onto one side to let knees stack upon one another and just remove any props from beneath you. And everyone coming to life fully on their backs, feet wide, knees knock in towards one another, creates a bit more space in the lower back. And feel your whole spine stretching up along the mat. If it feels good to stay in stillness, stay here. If you crave movement, start to sway the knees side to side, windshield wipering the legs side to side. And see if you can go slower than you naturally might. And then letting that movement go, we'll come into our final resting pose, Shavasana. So you can take a support underneath the legs, propping up the knees, and really prioritize comfort here. Know that you're worthy of that comfort. So really take your time to get there. If you're really feeling this expansive openness and tuning into the endless possibilities of autumn, then turn the palms up if that feels good for you. But if you still feel a bit airy and flighty and busy and crave a little bit more grounding after summer, then start to turn the palms down and maybe they come to rest at some point on the body that feels nourishing. The belly could be a really nice place for them. And then take a deep inhale. Exhale, sigh. And take another inhale. And a soft hum just to help tone the vagus nerve and come into a relaxed state in the nervous system. One more like this. Then let your body drop back into the silence. The silence that creates space for sound. And soften into the change, the flux of the season right now that creates space for stillness, for taking stock, really checking into how we're feeling and realigning our values or our priorities so that inner harmony becomes our priority. And feel free to stay here in Shavasana for as long as feels good for you. There is no rush. But if you're ready to rise, then start to find a full body stretch or hug knees into chest. Draw everything in really tight. And then we'll start to slowly roll over to one side. Let body be floppy and heavy. Maybe a yawn. And let body still be heavy and floppy as you use hands to support and press down into the earth, beginning to lift all the way to find a seat. And when you find your seat, start to rub palms of hands together, really enlivening the fingertips, find warmth, find heat. And then place hands on the center of the chest or just in front. Take a deep inhale. As you exhale, just this softening down, this gooiness to shoulders. And then start to dip chin towards chest. Eyes slowly flicker open, looking down towards the earth. And slowly, in your own time, lift your gaze and welcome in the room. Thank you so much for practicing with me. Go gently and take your time. This is a really deep practice, so really let it percolate and fill you with joy or reflection. See you soon. Thank you so much.